Hello and welcome to another episode of View from the Bridge. And it's another special episode today as we mark 10th season of Pete Moore's in charge of Nottingham County Cricket Club. Delighted to have Sussex head coach Paul Farbrace with us. He's taken some time out during his side's pre-season warm-up game against Worcestershire to speak a bit about his time working alongside Pete in his coaching days. Paul, great to have you with us. Hopefully you're there. Noticing a few technical issues. So Paul has just disappeared, so we might have to get him back in a second. But for those who are listening, we've had an episode with Chris Adams, which has just come out as well. Some great insights from him about working with Pete. The two of them delivering Sussex's first ever county championship title back in 2003. So we'll just wait for Paul to come back, and then we'll have a chat with him because he was assistant coach when Pete was in charge of England for the second time. In fact, here he is now.
There we go. Sorry, John, I don't know what happened there. Apologies.
That's all right. I was just ad-libbing for the last 20 seconds, just saying about how you were assistant with Pete when he was in England for the second time. And you just you were at Sri Lanka at the time. You just won the World T20 and you joined Pete with England. And I know things didn't always work out well with him, but I know a lot of the senior players like Joe Root and Alistair Cook had a lot of praise for him, and said he was pivotal to them winning the Ashes in 2015. So I'd love to get your memories of working with Pete and what makes him stand out so much.
Yeah, of course. Look, I've been very fortunate that I've known Morsey for a long time. I've known him since I was 18 years of age. So going back 40 years now, I'm at 58. So I've known Morsey since, let's say, 40 years. And, Morsey's always been someone that I've looked up to throughout my career. Firstly, as a player, as a young wicket keeper starting at Kent at 18 years of age, and Morsey played a little bit of second team cricket at Sussex during my early days, and then obviously got himself into the first team and played, many years for Sussex. So I, as a young keeper, I was very keen to chat to Morsey. He was always someone that had plenty of time for young players, and always was very kind and supportive to me. And obviously, because I was at Kent and he was at Sussex, we saw a lot of one another. And as I say, he's just someone who's always been a good person to me throughout my whole career. And he's someone I look forward to seeing. It was a shame that, our time together with England worked out the way that it did. But, that Root and Cook will definitely tell you, and I can assure you from, I stayed with England after Morsey finished the second time. And, he made an awful lot of progress with that team, and it was a great shame that he didn't get the credit that he deserved. He also should get a lot of credit for the fact that after our tough World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, when a lot of changes were made, he actually started the changes as well, because he was the one that gave 7 debuts to players in the Ireland International, which turned out to be his last day with England. So he'd already started that process. He was well aware that that team we took to the World Cup needed changing, and the World Cup was the ideal time to change it. But the progress we were making in Test cricket was absolutely outstanding. And Morsey was doing a brilliant job. And it was unfortunate that Andrew Strauss came in and for whatever reason didn't want to continue with Pete. And that's a great shame, because, someone like Alistair Cook will tell you that, he worked very well with Pete during his time as the England coach. He thoroughly enjoyed working with him. Their relationship as captain and coach was outstanding. And so it's not always down to necessarily, you're not doing a great job as a coach. Sometimes the fit doesn't always work. And maybe Andrew Strauss felt it wasn't the right fit. But all in all, Pete Moores is someone that I would imagine that 99.9% of the people that have ever worked with him will come away with nothing but praise. And the one great thing about Pete is I've never heard him say a bad word about anybody. Even at times when big characters and key names perhaps hadn't been quite so complimentary to him, and one in particular, he never had a bad word to say about them. All he did was find the positives, and that's something that he does day in, day out with every cricketer he ever works with. It's all about finding the positives, being really enthusiastic and keen. You know, his record in county cricket is amazing. It's not just fantastic, it is absolutely amazing. You know, to won the county championship with different counties over, you know, a 20-year period, it is an amazing thing to do. You know, Paul Downton talked about Pete being, you know, one of the best coaches England's ever produced. He was absolutely right. John Stanworth at Lancashire, when he'd worked with Pete at Lancashire, said he's the Rolls Royce of coaching. And that's how I think a lot of us see Pete. You know, he is someone who he gives so much to his team, and it's no surprise when his team have success, and it's no surprise that he's had the longevity and success that he's had. He's one of those people who's capable of coaching all skills to all levels, but above all, is just a very good human being who cares passionately about people and the game of cricket. And if that's your benchmark, you're not doing too badly, are you, really?
No, that's interesting what you say about two things there. One about obviously the changes that were coming in the side, but also the fact that he never had a bad word to say about anyone. I mean, I read an interview after he left England the second time, and you know, he refused to say anything negative about the experience. I think his only frustration was that he was seen as a bit of a data geek when he said he didn't even have a laptop at the time. So you think actually, you know, he's very good at empowering his players and liberating them, maybe more than perhaps it was thought about maybe during that period.
Yeah, 100%. You know, the data nonsense that, you know, I mean, at the end of the World Cup, and he said, we'll have a look at that later. And it was interpreted as we'll have a look at the data. You know, and I think he did actually get a letter of apology from the BBC, but it was a bit late by then. You know, and the perception that Pete is a data-driven coach is absolutely nonsense. Pete uses, you know, he uses all the information he can to help him help his players. There's no question about that. But he wasn't someone who used to sit and pore over a laptop all day. You know, he played the game. He's an active doer. You know, if you spent 24 hours in, you know, a day in the life of Peter Moores, my goodness, you wouldn't be sitting still for very long. You know, he's an active doer. He's always in the nets throwing. He's at his best when he's got a baseball mitt on one hand and a dog stick in the other, or a cricket bat in the other, and he's hitting catches, throwing balls. He's always active. He's never been a coach who leaves it to other people. He gets involved. He gets stuck in. And, you know, you look at the amount of players that he's improved in county cricket. And that, you know, I think the mark of a really high quality coach is not only someone who can improve a team, but can also improve individuals. And Morsey has proved that over 20 plus years, not only can he improve individuals, but he can improve a team. There's a lot of people who can improve individuals, and there's a lot of people who can improve teams. But Morsey has the unbelievable knack of being able to do both. And, you know, I think given time, any environment, he will make the team and the players better. And, you know, he isn't a data-driven geek. That's not Peter Moores. Peter Moores is an up and at them, you know, and get stuck in coach. That's what he does. He rolls his sleeves up every day. You know, we played at Trembridge last year in the county game in Sussex against Notts. You know, he's out there first every morning. He's throwing balls. He's hitting balls. He's living every ball. You know, he's probably learned a lot over his time, which, you know, you're constantly refining, as all coaches do. But Moores is still the guy that, you know, players absolutely want to play for. And a lot of people that have moved to the clubs where Moores has been coaching wouldn't have gone there for the salaries or anything else. They'd have gone there because they know that Peter Moores is going to make them a better player. You know, and Hamid is one. Duckett, I can think of, you know, is another one. You know, Ben Duckett has made unbelievable strides since working with Morsey. So, you know, there are lots and lots of players up and down the county game, and some retired now, who will tell you that Peter Moores has made a huge difference to, you know, their cricketing careers and their life as a result of working with him.
Yeah. Do you think maybe, you know, he's more suited to the county game, or do you think if given time internationally, whether with England or whether with another side, he would have success? Because I do think one thing I've noticed with him is he tends to build sides over time. He tends to be he's not like a quick fix sort of guy. You know, he builds environments, he builds dressing rooms, cultures, and constant improvement. Do you think maybe, again, given more time, even if he had another go at an international side now, he'd be able to do that if given the opportunity?
100%, 100%. I think the tough thing is that the first time, for whatever reason, that didn't work out, and the second time, I don't think he was ever really given the clear path to take it on how he wanted, and that's not necessarily Paul Downton's fault, who was director of cricket at the time. I think that there was a perception amongst some players, and certainly from the media, that Pete wasn't the right bloke to coach England. Now, I know from being with Alistair Cook and Joe Root, who we've already mentioned, two of England's best ever Test match cricketers. They absolutely love working with Morsy, and that when we won the Test match, when we won the series at Trent Bridge in 2015, we won the Ashes, Vinci Ashes, before we went to the Oval for the last Test. Alistair Cook gave Morsy credit and quite rightly so, even though Trevor Bayliss had been appointed head coach, he gave Morsy a lot of credit for England winning the Ashes that year. And that was, that was one of the things that he was very good at, as you say, very good at building a team. And had he been given more time, I have no doubt that he would have done a brilliant job with England. But, Strauss obviously chose not to want to keep him. And that was his choice as the director of cricket. But I think had Morsy, and there's still time, if he wanted to go and work for another international team, I think he would have great success. And sometimes, as I say, as a coach, it's not necessarily about, you're not a good coach. Sometimes the fit between the coach and the team at that time doesn't work. But let me tell you, in Test match cricket, we were making great strides under Peter Moores from the time he took over the second time. And it was a shame when that came to an end. Sometimes life doesn't work out the way you want it to. But, I have no doubt that Peter could quite easily manage and coach at international cricket level. I mean, you only got to look at, the jobs he gets around the world. He works with high-level players, and I'm delighted he's now going to be one of the 100 head coaches, because, he should be working at the highest level across the game. And the fact he's involved in the BBL, the fact he's been involved in the PSL, now the 100, suggests that, he still has a fantastic reputation around the world and around the game of cricket, and rightly so. People here at Sussex still talk about Morsy. Morsy set Sussex up to win the county championship, and they won it under him. But then Mark Robinson took over for Morsy when Morsy moved to the National Academy, and he won. They went on to win the county championship here. But Morsy's, if you like, footprint is still all over Sussex cricket. There's a lot of people at Sussex over the last 20 years who have maintained Morsy's work ethic, his desire to build something around a family feel to a cricket club. And he took that to Lancashire and did a brilliant job. And he's done exactly the same at Notts. And there was a time at Notts when maybe things weren't looking rosy, but, Mick Newell and Lisa Purcell stuck with Morsy because they knew he was the right person. And, absolutely have got their rewards, because Notts now are not only a fantastic cricket team winning the county championship, they're producing excellent players, and they're developing fantastic players to play for England. So, you have to say that Mick and Lisa absolutely made the right decision. And given time, Peter will always go on and have great success, because, as I say, he's got all bases covered. And that's, a fantastic trait for any coach to have.
I also want to make sure I'm not advocating for anyone to go take Pete from us. I very much hope he stays in Notts for a long time. But, obviously he's been successful, but so have you. You won the county championship with when you were at Warwickshire as a sort of director of cricket role. Obviously, you've done well with Sussex getting them promoted. So, you've obviously had a great time in county cricket, and I've mentioned obviously the World T20 as well. What I know you've been quite outspoken recently in terms of the relationship between the county game and the England side. What is your sort of take on the domestic game and that relationship? Because I'm guessing you'll be there'll be a bit of a reset, this summer, I suppose, in terms of that.
Yeah, look, it's always difficult because the England team quite rightly have to focus on the England team, and that's their job. And Brendan McCullum and Rob Key's job isn't to make county cricket better. Their job is to make the England team successful home and away and win the ICC competitions. So that's their first and foremost focus. But ultimately, every player that plays for England comes from county cricket, and it's a shame when you hear county coaches and county directors of cricket talking about the fact that, there isn't a great link between them and the England team. And I think that's something that needs to be repaired for the good of the game. And also, we want every player and every coach in county cricket working towards developing players to play for England. I mean, I think in county cricket, you have three things that you need to do. One is to develop young players to play for your county. Two is to try and win trophies for your members and supporters. And three is to develop players to play for England. That's what county cricket is in existence for. And, if there is a disconnect and we have coaches and directors of cricket in the county game, not that fussed if England win or lose, that's a really sad place to be. And we don't want to be in that position. And we want people being proud to produce England players, not saying, oh, we're losing players to England. And that's where we're at the moment. And that's really, really sad. I watched a lot of the Ashes and I want England to win. I genuinely want England to win. And, I want England to win every game they play. I want England to develop brilliant young players. And I just want some recognition for the county game rather than keep being told it's rubbish and it's a poor game. On the other hand, we also need to play a big part in it. We need to start producing far better pitches for our players to play county cricket on. And I think we've gone a little bit too far on, the winning part of it. And I know there'll be a lot of county coaches and directors of cricket will say, well, if we're not winning, we're not going to stay in our job. I get that completely. And I think that's where county boards and county clubs have got to accept that, you can't win trophies every year. Our club here, Sussex, have won 14 trophies in about 160 years. So, you're not going to win trophies every year. You're not going to dominate for 20 years as one club. And it goes in cycles. But equally, what you don't want is the county game sacking its coach every 2 years because it's not winning a trophy, because that doesn't allow for coaches to build anything, and it certainly doesn't allow them to want to play on the best pitches, because the danger is then you play on result pitches to try and win games, to try and keep yourself in a job, and that's not a great place for English cricket to be. But ultimately in the county game at the moment, we can't agree a schedule, we can't agree a lot of things in county cricket. You've got chairmen who want 4-day cricket because they get voted in by the members and the members want 4-day cricket. You've got chief execs who want T20 cricket because it's the only time you make money. And then you've got directors of cricket and county coaches who want less cricket to keep their players fitter and have more preparation time. So, if we can't agree in the county game, what chances have we got of having a great link between us and the international setup? And unfortunately, I personally think it's the lowest ebb it's ever been in my time involved in county cricket. And we want to get everyone back on the same page and aligned so that we're all doing the right thing for English game. So, it's all very well, people like me having a bit of a crack at Brendan McCullum, but ultimately, McCullum will turn around and say, well, the county game is not my responsibility. Agreed, but it doesn't help when he's pretty much saying, well, I've got no interest in county cricket. The only thing I'm interested in is England. Fine, I get that. But we need to recognise that county game is where the players come from.
Yeah, and obviously a couple of names have been put out there as potential test players this summer, Tom Haynes and James Coles. I mean, I guess, you'll be probably big advocates for them as potential England players, I suppose.
Definitely, yeah. I wherever I've worked, I want players to play for England. And I want England players in my dressing room because they act as fantastic role models for your young players. And also you want players to be inspired by having international cricket in your dressing room, talking about playing in franchise cricket or international cricket, talking about touring overseas, talking about the players they're working with, talking about the brilliant coaches they're working with. And you want people coming back being excited by that. James Coles, has been away playing in South Africa this winter. He's been with the Lions. He's played in the 100. We want him talking about the various coaches and players that he's playing and working with, and sharing his story to other players. Because then other players think, I want a bit of that. I want to be part of that. And that's really, really important and exciting. County clubs, we can only do so much. And therefore you want your players playing at the next level. So when Joffre's around, or when Ollie Robinson was playing for England, or Haynes being away playing for the Lions, whoever it is, James Coles, Jack Carson, you want them coming back, talking positive about their experiences and sharing their experiences, because they can help us develop players to the next level. And, as I say, that's one of our big responsibilities.
No, I should have mentioned Jack Carson as well, another one who, he's got great potential. In terms of the championship, obviously, we don't need to go into Sussex. I've been trying to say that earlier. I struggled to say it. Your financial difficulties, obviously, we don't need to go into detail on that. But what are your sort of ambitions for this season, and who do you see as the main challengers for the title?
Well, I think that the three that I would expect to be up there come the end of the season will be Notts, Somerset and Surrey. They're the three that I think will be at the top of the table. And if we finish above all three of them, I reckon we've won the county championship. So our goal was very simple. We had a 5-year plan, which we've shortened to 4 years because of our financial situation. And we can't plan too far in advance to 2027. But, our plan was to get promoted in year one, if not promoted close to, and we came third. Definitely promoted in year two, and we came top of Division 2. And then last year was to finish in the top 4, which we finished 4th. And then this year is to finish in the top 2. Now, a lot of people say absolutely no chance, far too ambitious. You've got no chance of finishing in the top 2 of the county championship. Well, if you don't have ambition and you don't really want to push yourself, then there's no point playing. And so, my job is to get people excited by and expecting to win. And I expect to win every game I play, expect to win. And look, we know that we've got a thin squad. We know we're going to have to keep certain players fit all year to give ourselves the best chance. But, I want to excite people. I want players looking forward to coming to work, and I want supporters and members looking forward to it. And, some might say, well, you're putting undue pressure on yourself and your players. But, you want to play at the best grounds. We get a chance to play at Trent Bridge, the Headingley's. We want to play at the best grounds. We want to play against the best teams. And that's how you're going to test yourself, and that's how you're going to find out if your players, really are top quality players. And players themselves surely want to play against the best teams in the best competitions, and not just be accepting mediocre, because mediocre, waste of time. We go back to Morsey. Morsey prides the standards and the culture of his club everywhere he is, because he wants players to put in every day, but he wants them to get the best out of themselves. And that's where I think having lofty ambitions are really good. And they're really good for a club like Sussex.
Well, we only play you once this year, and that's the penultimate game of the season. So who knows, maybe it'll be a title decider down in Hove. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? But look, Paul, we've taken up plenty of your time. I know you're keeping half an eye on how your side are doing against Worcestershire today.
We're actually off the field at the moment. We're in between innings, so we're going okay, actually. So, but look, I mean, the county game, I think, is in a great place. Right? I really do. And it was brilliant to see Notts win it last year. They were the best team. They played excellent cricket throughout. And everybody made a contribution throughout their team. It wasn't just one person. But, Notts is one of those grounds and clubs. Trent Bridge is a proper cricket ground. Steve Burks has done an unbelievable job there over the last, 20 years. And, obviously he's finished this winter. He's a proper man of cricket. And as is a lot of people at Trent Bridge. When you turn up, you're turning up to one of the best cricket grounds in the world, not just in England, but in the world. You get a friendly welcome. It's always an interesting cricket pitch, a good cricket pitch. And it's great to see that, Notts won the county championship. But, unfortunately, we don't get to Trent Bridge this year. But I'm looking forward to them coming to Hove, and it'd be nice for Morsey to come back to Hove. I'm sure see lots of friendly faces. We'll be delighted to see him. And as I say, Notts will definitely be one of the teams that we'll have a watch on. And hopefully, if we can play better than them, we'll finish in a very good position this year.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Final question, one name to look out for county cricket fans, Sussex, not anyone. who's one person we should be keeping an eye out for?
Well, if it was Sussex, but my man without a shadow of a doubt is James Coles, and Coles has had a lot of press attention. Not Sussex. There's a young man at Worcestershire called Dan Lattergen, who is a batter, a top order batter. He, I think, will be absolutely fantastic in county cricket this year. He was the best young player we bowled against last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing him score thousands of runs this year. So he's definitely one to look out for.
Brilliant. I did recognise the name. You just look Googling him now. 19. He's played against Notts for Worcester last year, and I know he was on a good run of form at the time. So brilliant. Well, you know what? That's a different name we've not had, so I'm really pleased about that. Thank you. That's a good way to end.
Pleasure. Fantastic, Joel, and good to chat to you. Have a great summer.
And you. All the best, and take care.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.